The rain came down in sheets, turning the quiet coastal road into a river of gray. Rebecca Hart gripped the steering wheel tighter as her ancient Honda sputtered, coughed, and finally died right in front of the Harbor Light coffee shop. Of all the places to break down, at least it was somewhere with shelter. She pushed the door open, immediately soaked by the downpour. Her canvas bag, heavy with student artwork she needed to grade, grew heavier as water seeped through the fabric. The coffee shop door chimed as she stumbled inside, leaving a trail of puddles across the worn wooden floor. Rough day. The voice came from the corner table where a man sat with a steaming mug and a book. He looked up, and Rebecca found herself staring into warm brown eyes that seemed genuinely concerned. "My car just gave up on life," she said, pushing wet hair from her face. Right outside. He set down his book, a worn copy of something about architecture, and stood. He wore simple clothes, faded jeans, and a gray sweater with a small tear at the collar, but he moved with quiet confidence. "I can take a look if you want. I'm pretty good with engines." Rebecca hesitated. Accepting help from strangers was not something she usually did, but the rain showed no signs of stopping, and her phone had died an hour ago. "I don't want to interrupt your reading." "You're not," he smiled, already reaching for a jacket hanging on his chair. "I'm Nathan, by the way, Nathan Brooks." "Rebecca Hart." They shook hands, his grip firm but gentle, calloused in a way that spoke of actual work, not just gym visits. Outside, Nathan popped the hood while Rebecca held an umbrella over him, though the wind made it nearly useless. She watched him work, his hands moving with practiced ease, checking connections and looking at parts she could not name. There was something calming about his presence, the way he did not rush or complain about the rain soaking through his sweater. "When was the last time you changed the battery?" he asked. "Battery?" Rebecca bit her lip. "I don't actually remember changing it." Nathan looked up, rain dripping from his dark hair. "How long have you had this car?" "5 years. And you've never changed the battery." It was not a question, but there was no judgment in his voice, just a kind of amused understanding. "Okay, that's probably your problem, along with a few other things. This car needs more than a jump start. You're going to need a mechanic." Rebecca's heart sank. She did not have money for a mechanic. Her teaching salary barely covered rent and supplies for her art students. "Is there a garage nearby?" "Joe's Auto is about 2 miles down the road, but it's Sunday. He won't be open until tomorrow." Nathan closed the hood. "Look, I work at Riverside Hardware, just around the corner. I can get you a battery at cost, and I can install it for you. Should have you running by this evening." "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He smiled, and something in Rebecca's chest tightened. When was the last time someone had helped her without wanting something in return? An hour later, they sat in the coffee shop, waiting for the rain to ease. Nathan had insisted on buying her a hot chocolate, claiming she looked frozen. Rebecca wrapped her hands around the warm mug, studying the man across from her. "So you work at a hardware store," she said. "Do you like it?" Nathan shrugged. "It's honest work. I get to help people fix things, build things. There's something satisfying about that." He paused, stirring his coffee. "What do you do?" "I teach art at Lincoln Elementary, 5th and 6th graders." She smiled, thinking of her students. "It's chaotic and wonderful and completely exhausting." "Art teacher." Nathan's eyes lit up. "That's incredible. I always wished I had a teacher who actually cared about art. Mine just had us color inside. The lines. They talked, and Rebecca found herself relaxing in a way she had not in months. Nathan listened when she spoke about her students, about the girl who only drew in black and white until Rebecca introduced her to watercolors, about the boy who expressed his feelings through clay when words failed him. He did not check his phone or look bored. He just listened. "You really love it," Nathan said softly. "I do. even though the school barely funds the program anymore. I buy most of the supplies myself." She stopped, surprised she had shared that. "Sorry, I don't usually complain." "That's not complaining, that's caring." Nathan leaned forward. "The school doesn't support the art program?" "They say there's no money. Everything goes to test prep and technology. Art is considered extra, not essential." The bitterness in her voice surprised her. "That's ridiculous. Art is essential. It teaches kids to see the world differently, to express themselves, to think creatively." Nathan spoke with unexpected passion. "Those are skills they'll use forever." Rebecca stared at him. "You sound like you know something about education." "I read a lot," he said simply. "And I think common sense says that kids need more than just math and reading. They need beauty, too." The rain finally stopped, and Nathan went to get the battery. Rebecca watched him through the window, this stranger who had appeared in her life at exactly the right moment. Or maybe the wrong moment, because she already felt drawn to him in a way that scared her. When he returned, he installed the battery in less than 20 minutes, refusing payment beyond what the battery cost. "Let me at least buy you dinner," Rebecca said. "As a thank you." Nathan hesitated, and for a moment she thought he would refuse. Then he smiled. "I'd like that." They went to Rosa's Diner, a tiny place with red vinyl booths and the best pie in 3 counties. Over chicken pot pie and coffee, they talked about everything and nothing. Nathan told her about growing up in the area, about his love for fixing things, about finding satisfaction in simple work. He asked about her art, and when she said she painted in her spare time, his interest seemed genuine. "What do you paint?" he asked. "Mostly seascapes, the ocean at different times of day. I have a tiny studio above my garage, nothing fancy, but it has good light in the mornings." "I'd love to see your work sometime." Rebecca found herself saying yes before she thought about it. There was something about Nathan that felt safe, genuine. In a world where everyone seemed to be performing, trying to be something they were not, he simply was. As they left the diner, Nathan walked her to her car. "Thank you," Rebecca said, "for everything today." "Anytime." He pulled out a small business card from his wallet. "That's my number. If your car gives you any more trouble, or if you just need help with anything, call me." Rebecca took the card, their fingers brushing. "Nathan Brooks, Riverside Hardware," she read. "Are you sure? I'm probably going to take you up on that. My apartment has a list of things that need fixing." "I'm counting on it," he said, and the way he looked at her made Rebecca's heart skip. She drove home that night thinking about warm, brown eyes and calloused hands, about a man who read architecture books in coffee shops and knew the value of art. She did not know that Nathan Brooks was so much more than he seemed. She did not know that this chance meeting would change everything. All she knew was that for the first time in a long time she felt hopeful. 3 weeks after the coffee shop meeting, Rebecca stood in her small art studio, staring at the water damage spreading across the ceiling. The landlord had called that morning with bad news. Either she paid for the roof repairs herself, or he was terminating her lease. $5,000 she did not have. The studio was her sanctuary, the place where she taught adult evening classes to supplement her teaching income. Losing it meant losing the one space that was entirely hers, where she could create without interruption. Her phone buzzed. Nathan's name appeared on the screen. "Hey," she answered, trying to keep the despair from her voice. "You sound upset. What happened?" Rebecca had been seeing Nathan regularly since that rainy Sunday. Coffee dates, walks along the beach, dinners at quiet restaurants. He had fixed her leaky faucet, repaired her wobbly table, and somehow made her laugh even on the hardest days. But she had not told him about the studio problem yet. "My studio's roof is damaged. I have to come up with $5,000 by next month or lose the lease." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm coming over. Text me the address." Nathan arrived 30 minutes later, carrying a toolbox that looked far too professional for someone who worked at a hardware store. Rebecca led him upstairs to the studio, watching as he examined the ceiling, the walls, the support beams with an expert eye. "This isn't just roof damage," he said, running his hand along a crack in the wall. "Your whole support structure is compromised. The landlord should have fixed this years ago. He says it's my responsibility now." Nathan pulled out his phone and took photos, measuring angles and making notes in a way that seemed far too technical for a casual inspection. "Can I see your lease?" Rebecca handed it to him, watching as he read through it quickly, his eyes moving over the legal language with unexpected ease. "This clause here," he pointed, "it says structural repairs are the landlord's responsibility, not the tenant's. He's trying to take advantage of you." "How do you know so much about leases?" Nathan looked up, and for a brief moment, something flickered in his eyes. Hesitation, perhaps. "I've read a lot of contracts. Trust me on this." Over. The next 2 weeks, Nathan became a constant presence at the studio. He brought materials, tools that Rebecca had never seen outside of professional construction sites. He worked after his shifts at the hardware store, sometimes until midnight, reinforcing beams, patching walls, treating the water damage. Rebecca's best friend Jennifer stopped by one evening with takeout. She found Nathan on a ladder installing new insulation with practiced precision. "Who is this guy?" Jennifer whispered to Rebecca in the small kitchen area. "He works at a hardware store but has $10,000 worth of professional tools?" "He's just good at what he does," Rebecca defended, though she had noticed the same thing. The tools were top of the line. His techniques were flawless. Sometimes he made phone calls in hushed tones, stepping outside when they came. "Rebecca, I'm a real estate attorney. I know construction crews. That man works like someone who's overseen major renovation projects." Jennifer pulled out her phone. "What did you say his last name was?" "Brooks. Nathan Brooks." Jennifer typed quickly, her eyes widening as she scrolled. She turned the phone to Rebecca. "Is this him?" The screen showed a news article from 2 years ago. "Brooks Industries heir steps down from board. Whereabouts unknown." The photo showed Nathan in an expensive suit, standing beside an older man at some corporate event. The caption identified him as Nathan Brooks III, son of Richard Brooks, founder of Brooks Industries. Rebecca's hands trembled as she took the phone. Brooks Industries was worth billions. They manufactured advanced technology systems, had contracts with major corporations worldwide. And Nathan, her Nathan who worked at a hardware store and wore torn sweaters, was the heir to all of it. "That can't be right," Rebecca whispered. But the photo did not lie. Same face, same eyes, just dressed in a world she could never belong. To Jennifer scrolled through more articles. "He vanished from public life 2 years ago. There was speculation about a breakdown, family conflict, rebellion against corporate pressure. No one knew where he went." Rebecca felt sick. Every moment between them replayed in her mind, tainted now with deception. The coffee shop meeting, was that planned? The convenient timing, the excessive helpfulness, the way he always seemed to know exactly what to say. Had any of it been real? Nathan came back inside, wiping his hands on a rag. He saw their faces and stopped. "What's wrong?" Rebecca held up the phone, showing him the article. "Who are you really?" The color drained from Nathan's face. He set down his tools slowly, carefully, as if buying time. "Rebecca, I can explain." "Explain? What? That you've been lying to me for weeks? That everything about you is fake?" Her voice cracked. "Do you even really work at the hardware store?" "I do work there. That part is real. But you're Nathan Brooks III, heir to Brooks Industries, billionaire." The word tasted bitter. "Why would someone like you pretend to be someone like me?" "I'm not pretending," Nathan said urgently. "This is who I really am. The person you've gotten to know, that's me. The other stuff, the company, the money, That's what I was running from. Jennifer grabbed her coat. I'll give you two some privacy. She squeezed Rebecca's shoulder on the way out. When they were alone, Nathan moved closer, but Rebecca stepped back. Don't. Please, just let me explain. Nathan ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she had found endearing until 5 minutes ago. 2 years ago, I walked away from my father's company, the board meetings, the corporate politics, people who only saw dollar signs when they looked at me. I was suffocating, so I left. I changed my name slightly, moved to this town, got a job at the hardware store because I genuinely love working with my hands. And the lying? How is lying to me being genuine? I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. Nathan's voice grew desperate. Do you know what it's like to never know if people like you or for what you can give them? Every relationship I had before was transactional. Women who wanted the lifestyle, friends who wanted connections, family who wanted me to be someone I'm not. So you thought you'd just keep this secret forever? Rebecca's anger mixed with hurt. When were you planning to tell me? After we got married? I was going to tell you. I was just waiting for the right time, waiting until I knew you cared about me, not my bank account. Nathan took a step forward. Everything between us is real, Rebecca. The conversations, the connection, the way I feel about you. That's all real. How can I believe anything you say now? Tears burned in Rebecca's eyes. I told you things, personal things. I trusted you, and this whole time you were keeping this massive secret. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Nathan's voice broke. But think about it. Did I ever flash money around? Did I ever act entitled or condescending? Did I ever treat you as anything less than an equal? Rebecca thought about the past weeks. Nathan eating at diners, drinking cheap coffee, genuinely enjoying simple things. The way he listened to her students' stories. The pride in his eyes when he fixed something with his own hands. Either he was an incredible actor or those moments had been authentic. The studio repairs, she said slowly. Those tools, those materials. You paid for all of it, didn't you? Nathan nodded. I wanted to help. The landlord was taking advantage of you. With your family's money. With my money. There's a difference. Nathan's jaw tightened. I have access to funds in my own name. I've barely touched them in 2 years, but I'm not going to watch you lose something important when I can help. That's exactly the problem, Rebecca said, exhaustion replacing anger. You can fix everything with money. You'll never understand what it's like to actually struggle, to choose between groceries and art supplies, to lie awake worrying about bills. You're right. I can't understand that specific struggle. Nathan's honesty caught her off guard. But I understand other kinds of pain. Loneliness. Pressure. The feeling that you're just a role to fill, not a real person. I understand wanting something authentic in a world full of facades. Rebecca wiped her eyes. I need time to think. I need you to leave. Rebecca, please. Leave, Nathan, or should I call you Nathan Brooks III? The pain in his eyes almost made her take it back. Almost. But he nodded, collected his tools, and walked to the door. He paused, hand on the doorknob. The person you've known these past weeks, that's who I really am. The hardware store guy who reads architecture books and thinks art education matters. That's me. The business empire stuff. That's what I was born into, not who I chose to be. He met her eyes one last time. I hope someday you can see the difference. The door closed behind him, and Rebecca sank to the floor, surrounded by the renovations he had made. The studio was saved, but at what cost? Her heart felt shattered, torn between the man she thought she knew and the billionaire he actually was. She looked at the half-finished mural on the wall, the one Nathan had helped her sketch out just days ago. Even now, even angry and hurt, she could not forget the way his face had lit up when she explained her vision. Had that joy been real, or just another part of his elaborate escape from reality? Rebecca did not know, and that uncertainty hurt most of all. Rebecca spent the next week teaching her classes in a fog. Her students noticed her distraction, the way her smiles did not quite reach her eyes. She avoided the studio, could not bear to see the repairs Nathan had made, each one a reminder of the deception. Jennifer visited on Friday evening with wine and determination. "Okay, I've done some research on Nathan Brooks." "I don't want to hear it," Rebecca said, but Jennifer ignored her. "He really did walk away from everything. No public appearances for 2 years, no social media, nothing. His father has been trying to get him to return, even hired private investigators to find him." Jennifer pulled up articles on her tablet. "And look at this. Brooks Industries' stock dropped 15% after he left. Analysts say the company lacks vision without him. So he's important to his family's business. That doesn't change the fact that he lied to me." "Did he, though?" Jennifer challenged. "He told you his name was Nathan Brooks. That's true. He told you he worked at the hardware store. Also true. He never claimed to be poor, you just assumed it. He let me assume it. That's the same as lying." "Is it?" Jennifer poured them both wine. "Or were you only interested in him because you thought he was safe? Someone who could not hurt you because he had nothing you wanted?" The words stung because they held truth. Rebecca thought about her last relationship, the ambitious banker who had left her for someone with better connections. She had been attracted to Nathan partly because he seemed simple, uncomplicated, safe from the ambitions and games she had grown tired of. "He should have told me," Rebecca insisted. But her conviction wavered. Maybe. But think about it from his perspective. How many people do you think wanted him for his money? How many relationships were real versus transactional? Jennifer squeezed her hand. "I'm not saying what he did was right, but I understand why he did it." That night, Rebecca could not sleep. She kept replaying moments with Nathan, searching for falseness and finding none. His laugh when she told terrible jokes, the way he spoke about her students with genuine interest, the peaceful expression on his face when they watched sunsets from the beach. That man had been real. The next morning, she finally returned to the studio. An envelope lay on the floor, slipped under the door. Inside was a check for $20,000 and a simple note. "For art supplies and whatever else your students need. No strings attached." Rebecca stared at the check, unsigned except for a foundation name she did not recognize. But she knew Nathan's handwriting from the notes he had left during repairs. This was from him. She called Jennifer. "He sent money for my students." "Are you going to cash it?" Rebecca looked around her studio, thought about her fifth graders using broken crayons and watered-down paint. "I don't know. It feels like accepting defeat." "Or maybe," Jennifer said gently, "it's accepting that someone genuinely cares about you and what matters to you." 2 days later, Rebecca received an invitation in the mail. The Brooks Foundation annual charity gala, hosted by Richard Brooks and family. The event was in 3 days, black tie, at the Grand Pacific Hotel. A handwritten note was attached. "Nathan will be there. His father is forcing him to attend. Thought you should know. Jennifer." Rebecca held the invitation, heart pounding. She had never been to anything like a charity gala. She owned one decent dress, nothing close to appropriate. But the thought of Nathan being forced back into the world he had escaped, facing it alone, made her chest ache. She called Jennifer. "I need your help." The night of the gala, Rebecca stood outside the Grand Pacific Hotel, smoothing down the midnight blue dress Jennifer had insisted on buying. Her hands trembled as she gave her invitation to the doorman. Inside, the ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and designer gowns. Rebecca felt completely out of place among women dripping in, diamonds and men in custom tuxedos. She almost turned around, almost left, but then she saw him. Nathan stood near the bar, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than her car. His hair was styled differently, more formal, and he looked uncomfortable in a way that made her heart ache. An older man who could only be his father stood beside him, introducing him to various people. Nathan smiled politely, shook hands, played the role perfectly, but Rebecca saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened between conversations. This was not her Nathan. This was the man he had been running from. She made her way. Through the crowd, her simple dress drawing curious glances. Nathan's father was in the middle of introducing him to a woman in a red gown when Rebecca reached them. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "May I borrow Nathan for a moment?" Nathan's head snapped up. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Rebecca?" His father frowned. "I'm sorry, but we're in the middle of important business discussions." "I understand, Mr. Brooks." Rebecca met the older man's eyes. "But I need to speak with your son. It's important." Something in her tone must have conveyed urgency, because Nathan excused himself, following her to a quiet corner near the terrace. "Doors. What are you doing here?" he asked, and she heard hope and fear mixed together. "I came to see you, to tell you that I've been an idiot." Rebecca took a breath. "I was so focused on what you didn't tell me that I forgot to see what you showed me. Every single day you showed me kindness, generosity, genuine interest in my life. You valued my work, respected my struggles, never once made me feel less than—" "Rebecca, let me finish." She stepped closer. "You were right. The person I fell for is who you really are. The billionaire thing, that's just circumstances of birth. It doesn't define you. I should have known that. I did know that. I just let fear and pride blind me." Nathan's hand came up to cup her cheek. "I should have told you sooner. I was afraid of exactly what happened, that you'd see the money and not see me anymore." "I see you," Rebecca whispered. "I see the man who reads architecture books in coffee shops, who fixes things because he loves helping people, who thinks art education matters, who walked away from billions because integrity mattered more." She placed her hand over his. "I see you, Nathan Brooks, and I choose you. Not your money, not your name, just you." Nathan pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "I love you. I've been in love with you since you held an umbrella over me in the rain while I fixed your car battery. I love you too, even though you have terrible taste in sweaters." He laughed, the sound genuine and free. "They're comfortable. They're awful." Rebecca smiled through tears. "But I wouldn't change anything about you." They kissed, and the glittering ballroom faded away. When they pulled apart, Nathan's father was watching from across the room, his expression unreadable. "I need to talk to him," Nathan said. "Set some boundaries. I'll come back to the company part-time, help with the foundation work, but I'm not giving up my life here. I'm not giving up you." "I'll be right here," Rebecca promised. She watched him walk back to his father, saw the conversation unfold. Richard Brooks's face went through several emotions: surprise, frustration, and finally something that might have been respect. He looked over at Rebecca, studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Nathan returned with a small smile. "He's not happy, but he understands. We're going to figure out a compromise." He took her hand. "Want to get out of here? I know a great diner with terrible coffee and the best pie." "In our formal wear?" "Why not? I've spent 2 years learning that the best moments don't require expensive venues." Nathan grinned. "Besides, I want to show off my beautiful girlfriend, to Rosa. She's been asking when I'd bring someone by." They left the gala, ignoring the stares and whispers. In the parking lot, Nathan opened the door of a modest sedan, not the luxury car Rebecca had expected. "Still driving practical," she noted. "Some things don't change." He kissed her before closing the door. "Though I should mention, I did buy one ridiculous thing." "What?" "A small building downtown. It has perfect lighting for an art studio on the second floor and enough space on the first floor for expanded after-school programs. He looked almost shy. I thought maybe you could use it. Rent-free, obviously. Call it my contribution to art education. Rebecca should have been angry at his presumption, but all she felt was love. You're impossible. I know. Is that a yes? That's a yes. She pulled him in for another kiss. But I'm paying utilities. Deal. They drove to Rosa's diner, where Rebecca met the owner, who hugged Nathan like a son, and immediately started planning their wedding, despite their protests. They ate pie and drank terrible coffee and talked about the future. Nathan would split his time between the hardware store and foundation work. Rebecca would expand her art programs. They would build a life together that honored both worlds, simple pleasures and strategic philanthropy, quiet mornings and occasional galas. Are you sure about this? Nathan asked as they walked along the beach later that night, shoes in hand. Dating me comes with complications. Press attention, family drama, people who'll judge you. Rebecca squeezed his hand. I've never been more sure of anything. We'll figure it out together. Together, Nathan repeated, smiling. I like the sound of that. They stood at the water's edge, waves washing over their feet. And Rebecca realized that love was not about finding someone from the same world. It was about finding someone whose soul recognized yours, whose character matched yours, whose dreams complemented yours. Nathan had been hiding, but not from her. He had been searching, and somehow, on a rainy Sunday in a coffee shop, they had found each other. Everything else was just details they would navigate together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one genuine moment at a time. And that was more than enough.